Hey everybody, Boris speaking Forex. Welcome to the weekly technicals for the commodity dollars for Aussie dollar, Kiwi dollar, dollar CAD, April 8th to April 12th, 2019. The story in the COM dollar land is essentially the same as it was last week. We're still very much in the key big range levels, although improving a little bit on the Aussie side and kind of faltering on the Kiwi side. Dollar CAD was its own interesting story in a sense that it failed. It failed that big level at the 34.50. And now it really remains at a key juncture as far as whether the dollar CAD is going to break to the upside or come back to the downside. Looking at the levels, not much has changed. Aussie is still 70.72. Dollar CAD is still 32.34.50, though that 34.50 is the key level now. And the Kiwi is much closer to 67 now than it was before, and that seems to be the really interesting story into the next week. Very little on the calendar as far as commodity dollars go here. We don't have essentially anything of import except Kiwi manufacturing PMI coming up on Thursday, and we don't even have Canadian data. I thought we had Canadian data on Friday. No, I mean it's essentially a very quiet week on the macro side. So it's all going to be very much determined by U.S. dollar flows, interest rate levels, and the key technical breakouts. To me, the interesting thing here, we start with dollar CAD here, is the range compression in dollar CAD. You see this range compression typically when we see these kind of movements where you have the highs and the lows compress into a very tight level. The breakout one way or the other way gives you a very good directional clue. So the fact that if we break to the downside off this compression, it's very likely we can go to 32 and maybe even all the way down to 130. A break to the upside is certainly very likely going to challenge this 34.50. So I'll be watching this very carefully this week just to see how the Canadian dollar breaks out. But that is essentially where we stand on the CAD side. On the Aussie side, what's fascinating about Aussie is just how little price action there actually has been over the last month. We have touched the 20 SMA. Look at this. I think like 6 or 7 times. We've basically been trading up and down below 71.50 to 70.50 all day long from the beginning of March till now. And again, that kind of low volatility environment essentially resolves. You can see it over here where you have this low volatility environment for quite a long time, then it resolves to the downside, and then it signals for further downside action. How it goes, the price action will tell us. Certainly it feels like it's more skewed to the downside than to the upside here. I think global growth worries are still going to persist despite the green shoots we saw out of Asia last week, and that story probably is going to test the 70 as we go forward. But I really like to see the price action show it to me. So first and foremost, I'd really want to see us close below 70.50 as a key tell that maybe the price action is starting to turn down, and then of course test the 70 to the downside. But as surely as day follows night, these low volatility regimes do break out. The key thing here, I think, to watch is 72 to the upside will take us to 74s. 70 to the downside could take us to 68s. That's kind of a long-term thesis you have to operate on as far as the price action goes. And Kiwi also looking very ugly here. Kiwi actually is indicating a big breakdown. It's interesting. What's interesting here is this is the RBNZ move. We had a week's worth of slight retrace, and then the theme of RBNZ, which is that they may actually begin to cut rates, really starts to reverberate through the market. The market is really starting to feel much more negative Kiwi than the initial reaction has showed. And I think that's kind of interesting. So unless the sentiment can hold here at 67, it's very likely we're going to break the 67, and then it's onwards towards the 66, 65, which is the really key support level here. Overall, Kiwi is just tracing out a very long-term top here between 65 and 69. But the fact that we break the 67s, I think, could really usher in a fresh leg to the downside on the Kiwi. And that's pretty much how the COM dollar land sets up this week. Just watching those ranges and seeing where and how things are going to break out to follow our trades. Wish you guys the best luck, the best trading. Boris, over and out.